Hello, welcome to the Manasplained podcast. I'm Connor, and today I'll be talking about the deck I built for Arcady Sabboth. Arcady Sabboth is a legendary creature Elder Dragon that costs 2 white, 2 green, and 2 blue for a 7/7. It is flying. You can pay a white until the end of turn. You get +0/+1. He gives your untapped creatures +0/+2 as long as they're not attacking. And at the beginning of your upkeep, if you do not pay a white, a green, and a blue, you have to sacrifice him. So in my previous video, I said that Angus Mackenzie sucked and was very bad, and I was way too harsh. At least that card does something. This is an 8 mana, 7/7, with the reverse of fire breathing, not giving your power a buff, giving your toughness a buff, which is essentially useless because, like, why? You already get +0/+2 for, like, blocking. I don't understand why this card exists. It's insanely bad. And then you have to pay 3 during your upkeep or you sacrifice it. I know all the Elder Dragons from this set have this, but it's so bad. I thought Angus Mackenzie was bad. This is so much worse. And so, like, building this deck, I had a really hard time figuring out, like, what I was going to do to, like, use this commander in any meaningful way, because it doesn't do anything of value, really. But before we get into the deck actually does, please like and subscribe and comment. Boosts engagement, helps the algorithm get me out to more people, get more people seeing these videos. I'd really appreciate it. And in the comments down below, let me know, did you like the deck? Did you not like the deck? What cards would you add? What cards would you take out? I love hearing other people's opinions on deck building, because it's just fun to deck build and brew with other people and to hear what other people would do. I'm trying a new schedule out where I'll be streaming building the decks Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then trying to have the video uploaded every Friday. I might have to push them to Saturday, I'm not sure yet. So I'm going to try out that schedule and see how it works, and people let me know if you like that format or if you want me to upload on different days or what's going on. So in this deck, I have 6 draw cards, 13 ramp cards, 8 removal, 3 board wipes, and 40 lands. It's really low on the draw, and I had a really hard time dealing with that, but it's because I needed a lot of other cards from the next sections that you'll see, and I needed a little bit extra ramp in order to be able to get Arcades out, because Arcady Sabboth costs 8. It's a ton of mana. Also why I'm running 40 lands, so I can always be hitting my land drops. Also in this deck, I have 8 theme, 8 sub-theme, 8 protection, 4 synergy, and 3 of a category I'm calling Ramp 2. I'll get to what all these categories mean later, and that one's called Ramp 2 because it's not like Ramp where you get to search your library for a land and put it onto the battlefield. It kind of ramps you in a different way, and again, I'll get to that later. So if you add up all the categories, you get 102, which means I only have 2 crossover cards in this deck. That's something I am worried about. The cards don't have a lot of versatility in this deck, only having 2 that fill multiple slots. But I think the deck is great the way it is and uses Arcades in a way that I think might be the only feasible way to use them. The theme of this deck is getting swole, getting big, getting tough, because I'm using him to deal damage with his toughness, because he has reverse fire breathing that lets him buff his toughness rather than his power to get bigger. You could pay 4 mana, get him to 11, and you could 2-shot someone with commander damage, which would be hilarious. So yeah, all of these cards on them say each creature you control assigns combat damage equal to its toughness rather than its power. Assault Formation is the best one because it's the cheapest at 2. Brontodon is the worst one because it costs 7, and then all the other ones cost 3, which is great. Of the ones that cost 3, Huatley is probably the best one, because it's a -3, gains you life, which can be useful. So these 3 cards are potentially better than the other ones, because these not only let you do damage with your toughness, they also buff your toughness at the same time. Gauntlets of Light and Treefolk Umbra giving you +0/+2. Treefolk Umbra giving you Totem Armor, which would prevent your commander from dying once. And then Baldan giving you a crazy buff of the number of card in your hand, which is insane. These cards are great. They work so well in this deck. So you know what's better than a 2-turn kill? A 1-turn kill, or a 1-turn knockout, which is what the next category is about, or the sub-theme. So all of these cards give Arcades Double Strike, and when you pair that with the theme of letting him deal damage with his toughness, if you give him Double Strike and then pump 4 mana into his ability to give himself +0/+1, he'll get to 11, deal damage with his toughness, and Double Strike, that's 22 commander damage, which will one-shot somebody. And he costs 8, so you're going to have to do this like the turn after he enters, and that's why I have so much protection. Because since this colors don't have red, you can't run a lot of haste stuff. So yeah, this deck is about getting him out, protecting him, and then hitting someone with him and killing them. So while all these cards don't give Arcades Double Strike, they also pump his toughness up to be like Double Strike, with Black Blade Reforged giving you +1/+1 for each land you control, which sometimes can be more than Double Strike, the amount of buff you're going to get. Stone's going to give you +0/+10, so then when you pump the 4 mana into Arcades, he gets to 21 toughness, letting you get the 1-turn kill with commander damage, and then Grafted Exoskeleton, giving him +2/+2 and Infect. The reason that's important is because if an opponent takes 10 damage from creatures with Infect, they lose the game. And so +2/+2 gets Arcades to a 9/9, and then you activate his ability once, he turns into a 9/10, and then dealing damage with Toughness, that one-shot somebody. So yeah, all of these cards are also great, and they also help you get the one-turn kill. So the next category is Synergy, which are just cards that synergize with the commander or the main theme of the deck. So these are the 4 synergy cards. Swiftfoot Boots giving Hexproof and Haste, so Arcades is protected and you can hit the turn he enters. Champion's Helm giving you +2/+2 and Hexproof, so protecting him, buffing him up a little bit. Assault Suit, which is really fun, I found this interaction, giving him +2/+2 haste, and he can't be sacrificed, which means his upkeep cost, you don't have to pay it, and it can't be sacrificed, meaning you can save the 3 mana there. And then Cherix the Raging Isle just being a 0/17. So if you don't have Arcades out or Arcades died, you can cast Cherix, and then you can give Cherix double strike and deal damage with his toughness, and you're hitting for 34 damage, which is almost a 1-turn kill. So Cherix is like a backup plan in this deck, and it's amazing. So the protection category, I had 8 cards in it, which is a lot more than I normally would run, but that's because the commander costs 8 mana, and he doesn't have haste. He can't attack the turn he enters, so you really need to protect him for 1 turn cycle before you can swing with him. So these are all the 1 mana instants that will protect him, giving him Indestructible and Hexproof on Blacksmith Skill, Tamiyo Safekeeping, and Lauren's Escape, while God's Willing gives him protection from a color. The God's Willing giving protection from a color is also really good as a combat trick because I can give it protection from, say, red, and then it can't be blocked by red creatures, helping you get the damage through potentially one-shotting someone. So these are the other protection spells. Rebuff the Wicked and Turnicide, countering a spell that targets a permanent you control for 1 mana. Super efficient. Someone casts a removal spell on, say, like the thing that lets you deal damage with your toughness, or the thing that gives you double strike. You can counter those as well. It's not just protection for your commander, which these cards are such good value. And then Champion's Helm and Swiftfoot Boots giving Hexproof. Also great protection. You already saw them earlier. Those cards are fantastic. Swiftfoot Boots probably being one of the best cards in the deck. The next category is Draw, and the draw count is really low at 6. It feels really bad, but I needed the room for everything else because all the other cards just are so impactful. I know draw is important, but like I just couldn't cut anything else, and it feels really bad. So these are the 3 draw planeswalkers. Teferi, Master of Time being one of my favorites, letting you draw and then discard 4 times per rotation of the table. Elementor, drawing you a card, scrying 2, and then your next instant or sorcery costs 2 less to cast. And then Jace, Arcane Strategist, drawing a card, and then whenever you draw your second card each turn, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control, which can make Arcades bigger, which is super useful. Also, Jace's -7, I don't know if you're going to get there often, people might attack him, keep him lower, but it can make so that Arcades cannot be blocked when you attack that turn, which helps you get the 1-turn kill. So Archmage Emeritus, giving all of your instants and sorceries card draw is amazing, super useful. Tattoo of a Benthic Druid, having draw a card and gaining a life on landfall, which is whenever you put a land into play. It's also amazing. And then Fact or Fiction is just a pretty good draw card. I needed another draw spell, and Fact or Fiction's a good one. Also synergizes with Archmage Emeritus being an instant. So the next category is Ramp, which is sitting at 13, which I think is perfectly reasonable for a deck with a commander that costs 8, along with the 40 lands. It'll help you get your commander out and not get mana screwed. Quintessential ramp cards here: Soul Ring, Arcane Signet, Rampant Growth. Soul Ring giving you 2 mana, Arcane giving you 1 of any color, and Rampant Growth finding any basic. They're all fantastic. I run these as often as I can. They're all super great. If I'm running green, I try to run these as often as possible into the north, finding any of your snow duels, which is fantastic, or a basic, so it's just better. Rampant Growth. Farseek, finding any typed land that isn't a forest, which is also amazing. And then 3 visits in Nature's Lore, putting a forest into play so you can go find like a forest plains or a forest island. They're amazing. All these cards are fantastic. I try to run them in every single green deck because they just color fix so well. Cultivate and Kadama's Reach, again, staples whenever I have a deck with green because they're a Rampant Growth that you spend 1 more mana to also draw a land. They're fantastic. I try to run them in every green deck. These cards are great. So then we have Sky Shroud Claim and Ranger's Path, both searching a library for 2 forests and then putting them onto the battlefield, and then Ranger's Path putting them on the battlefield tapped. These cards are amazing. They color fix super well, and finding you 2 forests is great. They're just double 3 visits or doubles Nature's Lore. Love these cards. The last 2 cards in this category are Sunscape Familiar and Mirari's Wake. Sunscape Familiar making all your green and blue spells cost 1 less to play, which is just awesome value for a 2 mana creature. and then Mirari's Wake, making all your lands tap for an additional mana and giving your creatures +1/+1. Mirari's Wake, absolute house in this deck. So strong. So now for the ramp 2 category, this is not like the other ramp category where those cards are directly ramp 100% of the time. These cards are kind of ramp. So Raminap Excavator and Conduit of Worlds letting you play lands from graveyards. That's great, but you need to run a lot of fetch lands to do this. So I'm running all of the Streets of New Capenna fetches, even the off-color ones that only let you find 2 of the 3 colors in the deck, as well as Terramorphic Expanse, Revolving Wilds, and Fabled Passage. Just all great cards, as well as Myriad Landscape and Corrosive Verge. Raminap Excavator and Conduit of Worlds will let you play those lands from your graveyard, which is awesome. Conduit of Worlds, you can tap to also cast a non-land permanent from your graveyard if you haven't cast a spell this turn, helping you get some recursion value if you really need it. And then Geode Golem, being one of the star cards in the deck, having Trample being a 5/3, and when it deals combat damage to a player, you may cast your commander from the command zone without paying its mana cost. This could help you get out Arcady Sabboth super early, and yeah, this card is just awesome. Now for the removal. The removal was a little low at 8. That's because I needed to fit room for all the other cards. That's the theme of this deck, is everything's a little low because I needed to fit all the other cards to let Arcady Sabboth do something. So, classic Sword to Plowshares, Path to Exile, Pongify, Rapid Hybridization. All 1 mana, Swords and Paths, exile a creature, Pongify, and Rapid destroy a creature. These cards are fantastic. Run them in white and blue decks. They're just amazing. Beast Within, Stroke of Midnight, and Generous Gift. All 3 mana, destroy a permanent, and then you give that person a token. Stroke of Midnight probably being the best one, because while it can't hit lands, it only gives a 1/1. All these cards are, again, fantastic. Run them in your white and green decks. They're great. And then this card kind of blurs the line between board wipe and removal, where it lets you destroy up to 1 target artifact or enchantment for each of your opponents. So that destroys 3 things for 3 mana. That rate is crazy. And then if you want to, you can pay 8 mana to cycle it to destroy all artifacts and enchantments. So it has this modal effect of being a pseudo board wipe and then being a true board wipe. This card is amazing. Run it more. I should be running it more. I should be running it more decks. This card's awesome. To transition from that card, now we're talking about the actual board wipes. The honest goodness board wipes that'll just reset the board and help you get through with your game plan. So the board wipes in this deck are designed to clean the board the turn before you play Arcades. That way your opponents are stuck rebuilding instead of playing removal for Arcades. And that way when it comes back to your turn after you play them, you could get in for the one-shot kill. Yeah, these cards are great. Farewell and Austere Command, just their modalness being super useful. Next category is lands. I'm not going over all the lands. There's 40 of them. That would take way too long. But I'm just going to broadly cover what the 40 lands are doing in the deck. So we have Glacial Floodplain representing all the snow duels. Selesnya Sanctuary representing the 3 bounce lands. Terramorphic Expanse representing all of the fetch lands. Not being the true fetch lands, being like Evolving Wilds and Myriad Landscape, Corrosive Verge, Fabled Passage. Broker's Hideout representing the Streets of New Capenna fetches. Tangled Islet being the tapped duels they're just great cards. I really like them. Great Hall of the Citadel being a new card from Lord of the Rings, letting you filter a mana to cast a legendary spell. That's great because the commander costs 2 white, 2 green, 2 blue, so this helping you filter for colors is awesome. Sea of Clouds representing the 3 Battle Bond lands that enter untapped if you have 2 or more opponents. And then I'm not running the cycling typed tri-land from Ikoria. I'm running Seaside Citadel instead because the Ikoria triomes, they're expensive. They're like $10 a land. So the last category is I had to cut something. These are the cards that didn't make the cut, but were pretty close. One of the cards in this category is really spicy, and I wish I could put it in, but it just doesn't do anything. So the cards that didn't quite make the cut were Lightning Greaves, Intervene, Eon Hub, Build the Pony, and Chariot of Victory. So I had to cut Lightning Greaves because it would give Arcady Sabboth Shroud, which means you can't target it with stuff, which means your protection spells like Tamiyo's Safekeeping or God's Willing, you wouldn't be able to hit it with that to stop it from dying through like a board wipe or something. And then also your double strike effects wouldn't be able to target it. Yeah, the Shroud is a big deal, makes it so Lightning Greaves is not good in this deck. Intervene, countering a spell that targets a creature, too narrow. The other 2 that counter a spell that targets a permanent you control, so much more useful. But yeah, Intervene just a little bit too narrow. Build the Pony is another deal damage equal to your toughness effect. Problem is you only get to do it twice, and if you sacrifice the food to do it, and then someone kills Arcades in response, and you can't protect him for some reason, that was just a waste. And you build the pony, it doesn't do anything after the 2 food are gone, and this deck has no food synergies. So yeah, it's just not really worth keep putting in the deck. And then Chariot of Victory, giving First Strike, Trample, and Haste, while being amazing, it just doesn't do enough. It doesn't buff power toughness at all. It doesn't give him evasion. Doesn't let him deal damage with his toughness. Yeah, so Chariot of Victory just also doesn't quite make the cut. And then the super spicy card being Eon Hub. Players skip their upkeep steps. This makes it so you don't have to pay Arcades Sabbath's upkeep cost, that if you don't pay it sacrifices him. The problem with that is it's a 5-mana do-nothing card that is kind of a really feel-bad card, because like if your opponents have upkeep triggers and you're just stopping them, that's just like not great. Also, if your opponents have like cumulative upkeep triggers, this would not make them not have to pay those, which would be a huge benefit for them. So yeah, Eon Hub, it's super spicy. This is not quite the deck for it, but I hope to find a deck for it in the future that just is like upkeep triggers shenanigans, where I have a cumulative upkeep or upkeep triggers on everything and then I never have to pay it. Yeah, this card could be real spicy, just not in this deck. So let me know in the comments down below, what'd you think of the deck? I know the card draw is too low, but like, what can you do? You had to fit room for everything else. But yeah, what would you change? What would you add? What would you take out? Did you like this video? Anything you'd want me to change about the video or anything else? I just love hearing feedback. I love talking with you down in the comments. I'm down in the comments after I post videos, and I will respond to every comment. And yeah, I just want to talk with you. So let me know what you think. And also, I'm on Twitch, Twitter, TikTok, Reddit, and Archidect. Twitch is where I'll stream the decks Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Twitter is when I post when I'm going live on Twitch. Also, I post when I upload these videos on Twitter as well. Still trying to figure out what I'm going to do on TikTok. I'm going to do something. I might do condensed version of these videos, individual sections, interesting card combos between commanders and like one category in the deck, maybe something like that. Also on Reddit, I post when these videos go live, and all of the deck lists will be over on Archidect. So, thank you for watching, and as always, get building, splainers. Alright, that is so